But then again, Vincent had never held back with me. Even when I was a child, he'd never let me forget how close death lingered. Every falter was met with his hand at my throat, two fingertips pressed to my skin, mimicking fangs. You're dead now, he would say. Try again. I didn't let him get those fingers to my throat this time. My muscles screamed, already tired from my last encounter. But I dodged every blow, slipped every grip, met every strike with my own, and finally, after countless exhausting minutes, I had him against the wall. One finger to his chest, a point of my blade. You're dead here, I panted. And thanked the mother for it, because I wouldn't have survived another fucking second of this match. The corner of Vincent's lips curled in pride only for a moment. I could use Asteris. Asteris, amongst the most powerful of Nightborn vampires' magical gift and the rarest. Pure energy said to be derived from stars, manifested as blinding black light capable of killing instantly at full force. Vincent's mastery of it was peerless. I'd only witnessed him use it to the level an entire building of Vretian rebels. Vincent had tried over the years to teach me how to wield magic. I could only make a few little sparks, pathetic compared to the lethal skill of a vampire magic user, from the House of Night or any other. For a moment, the thought of this a fresh reminder of all the ways I was inferior to the warriors I was about to face made me dizzy. But I pushed this uncertainty away quickly. Asteris wouldn't matter if I'd already killed you. Would you be fast enough? You always struggle to get the heart. You have to push hard to make it through the breastbone. I blinked back with an unwelcome memory. Not anymore. My finger was still pressed to his chest. I was never entirely sure. When our sparring session ended, so I never let up before the match was called. He was only a few inches from me, a few inches from my throat. I never ever allowed any other vampire this close. The smell of my blood was overwhelming to them, even if the vampire wanted to resist it, and they so rarely did. They might not be able to control themselves. Vincent had carved these lessons into me. Never trust, never yield. Always guard your heart. And when I had disobeyed him, I had paid for it dearly. But not with him, never him. He had packed my bleeding wounds countless times without revealing even a hint of temptation. Had guarded me when I slept, had had cared for me at my weakest. That made it easier. I spent my entire life afraid, forever conscious of my weakness and inferiority. But at least I had a single safe harbor. Vincent's eyes searched my face. Very well, he pushed my hand away. I went to the edge of the ring, wincing as I rubbed a wound he'd opened on my arm. He barely glanced at the blood. You have to be careful of that when you're in there, he said, bleeding. I wrinkled my nose. Goddess, he must be worried, telling me such basic things. I know. More than usual, Uriah. I know. I took a swig of water from my canteen, my back to him. My eyes instead traced the frescoes on the wall. Beautiful and terrible paintings depicting razor-teeth vampire writhing in the sea of blood beneath silver stars. The arrangement stretched the entire room. This private training area was reserved for Vincent and his highest ranking warrior, and it was more disgustingly ornate than any place meant for spit, blood, and sweat should be. The floor was soft ivory sand replaced from the dunes every week. The fresco covered the circular windowless walls, a single panoramic tableau of death and conquering. The figures depicted in it were Hayaj vampires, with bat-like wings ranging in shade from milky pale to ash black. 200 years ago, those wings would have been the feathered wings of a Rishan, the rival Nightborn clan perpetually battling for the throne of the House of Night. Since the goddess Nyaxia created vampires more than 2000 years ago, Since before then, some even claimed the two sects waged constant war. And with every turn in the tide, every new bloodline on the throne, this fresco would change. Wings painted and erased dozens of times over thousands of years. Glanced over my shoulders at Winston. He left his wings out, which was very rare. Usually he spirited them away with his magic, unless it was some diplomatic event that required him to flaunt his high arch power. They were long enough that the tips nearly brushed the floor, and black, so black it defied nature, as if light seeped into his skin and died there. But even more striking were the streaks of red. Crimson ran down his wings like rivulets of water, collecting at the edges and at each pointed tip. When Vincent's wings were spread, they looked as if they were outlined in blood, vivid enough to cut through even the most unforgiving darkness. The black was unusual, but not unheard of. The red, though, was unique. Each Hayaj Orishan heir bore two marks, red on their wings and another on their body, which appeared when the previous heir died. Vincent's mark was at the base of his throat, just above his clavicle. It was a mesmerizing, ornate design that resembled a full moon and wings wrapping around the front of his neck in crimson, as vibrant as a bleeding wound. I had only seen it a couple of times. He usually covered it beneath high-collared jacket and black silk wrapped tight and near around his neck. When I was younger, I'd once asked him why he didn't leave it visible more often. He had just given me a serious stare and blandly remarked that it was unwise to leave one's throat exposed. That answer shouldn't have surprised me. Vincent was well aware that usurpers lurked around every corner, both outside his walls and within them. Every new king, Hayaj or Rishan, was crowned upon a mountain of corpses. He had been no exception. I turned away from the painting just as he softly said, "It's nearing a full moon. You should have a few more days, but it could begin any time. You need to be ready." I swallowed another gulp of water. Still, my mouth tasted ashy. I know. The start could be anything. She likes it to be unexpected. She. Mother of night, shadow, blood. Mother of all vampires, the goddess Nyaxia. At any moment, she could trigger the start of once-in-a-century tribute that the House of Night staged in her honor. A savage tournament of 5 trials over 4 months, resulting in only one winner, and granting the most precious prize the world has ever known, a single gift from the goddess herself. Vampires from across orbitaries would travel to participate in the Kejari, drawn by the promise of wealth and honor. Dozens of most powerful warriors from all 3 houses, the House of Night, the House of Shadow, and the House of Blood, would die in pursuit of this title, and most likely so would I. But they were fighting for power. I was fighting for survival. Vincent and I both turned to each other at the same time. He was always pale, his skin nearly matching his silver eyes, but now he seemed a downright sickly shade. His fear made my own unbearable, but I fought it down with a promise. No. I had trained my entire life for this. I would survive the Kajari and I would win it, just like Vincent had before me, 200 years ago. He cleared his throat, straightening. Go change into something decent. We are going to look at your competition. Wow. So chapter 2 felt quieter on the surface but heavier underneath, isn't it? It's like the story pauses just enough to really sit with Oraya. Not just as someone trying to survive, but someone who's constantly aware of where she stands and where she doesn't. It really made me wonder how much of a survival is actually strength and how much of it is learning how to exist in spaces that were never meant for you, you know? And overall, I feel really inspired by Oraya. But overall, this chapter didn't really try to impress loudly, but it deepened things in a way that makes you want to keep going, like something is slowly building and you don't fully see it yet. So yeah, let's see what chapter 3 brings us. Thank you, guys. Bye.